Good afternoon. I'm Jason Hamlin. So what do canceled vacations, a looming hunger crisis, and a looming worldwide economic recession have in common? It's all the lockdowns imposed by the governments. Today I hope to persuade you that the effects of the lockdown are more detrimental to us and the economy than the virus itself. Today we're going to talk about how these lockdowns affect the economy and humans, and they affect us with hunger, death by despair, and domestic abuse. So let's roll into the first issue caused by these lockdowns: hunger. Hunger is a worldwide issue that is faced by millions, and the threat of starvation is a real thing that most of us would never think that we had to face. According to the UN, in a New York Times article, more than 265 million people will face hunger issues this year due to the COVID lockdowns. The United States has had to close meat processing plants. The United Kingdom has had to dump milk due to plummeting demand. And countries around the globe have implemented strict import and export bans on food and food-related items. And with the economic situation looming and getting worse every day, prices of goods are going up. So when supply goes down and demand goes up, the price will inevitably go up too. I've seen in the certain Pacific Islands where the price of rice has more than doubled since these lockdowns have been implemented. But there's also another issue too that affects us: death by despair. Death by despair is classified as any death from suicide, alcohol, and/or drug abuse. And according to MarketWatch, the number of death by despairs could surpass the COVID deaths, and that an additional 156,000 deaths could happen depending on how fast the economy can regain. With job markets down, people stuck at home, can't do nothing. They turn to coping measures such as alcohol, drugs, and the worst, suicide. Is it the best? I don't know. I mean, what does somebody think when he can't feed his family? He can't support himself. He can't buy food. He can't pay for rent. Is the last thing suicide? Is he just trying to pay for his wife and kid or his family to eat? That's a tough one, but it's not called for. We shouldn't have this. Another issue that we face with these lockdowns is the rise of domestic abuse. By the end of 2020, domestic abuse cases could reach 15 million cases worldwide, according to The Guardian. With people out of work, sitting in isolation, with limited places to go and nothing to do, they take their anger out on their loved ones. Or they could just be showing their true colors. Either way, the ones being abused do not deserve this kind of treatment. They didn't ask for it. They did nothing to deserve it. But with certain hospitals closed and the shelters closed due to the lockdowns, they have nowhere to go. States releasing prisoners who committed these same crimes are not going to take prisoners in for this, so they're just sit there with nowhere to go, and they're just getting it. They need a voice. They need somewhere to go. But with these strict lockdowns, they've got nothing. So let's release these lockdowns so they can get the care they need. They can start the long path of recovery. So these last three subjects I talked about, what do they have in common? Money. That's the basis of all the problems. So according to the BBC, the stock markets have lost up to 24.5% since these restrictions have started. Now, we all have money invested in them. Well, not all of us, but a lot of us do, with 401ks, retirements, or stocks. Money is the root of all this problem. So if we can get back to the workforce, we can get back working, we can get off these restrictions, a lot of these problems will not affect us. And granted, we will have problems. People will die either way. And it's inevitable with any infection that the elderly are at the highest risk. It's sad, but that's the nature of the beast. And people with underlying conditions. So let's protect these people. Let's get the workforce back open. Let's beg the governments to lift these restrictions and say, screw this lockdown. Let's get back to work. Let's get the economies back. And we can stop a lot of these unnecessary deaths. We can stop the abuse that does not need to. So today we talked about how the lockdowns affect the economy, how they affect humans by hunger, death by despair, and domestic abuse. So people live job to job, paycheck to paycheck. So if we can lift these lockdowns, we can get those guys back working and they don't have to suffer. Is all this extra suffering worth it? It is not. So I hope that you are persuaded to see that these lockdowns cause more problems than the actual virus. Thank you for your time. Are there any questions?